couple different reasons.
Hello and welcome to We the Village, produced by Ron Hall, and I am your host, Sharonda Allen. And I am just so happy this day to have a wonderful young man here. It's February, it's Black History Month, so we have an issue that's beautiful to talk about that I think we need to pay attention to. And your name, you go by Jameel C.H.A.O.S. Laboo.
Jameel C.H.A.O.S. Labo, yes I do.
Okay. First, I want to talk about the fact that you know me because your brother made reference to me and said, hey, hit her up, maybe she can help you, with some of the things that you're doing. I taught him many years ago,
Yes.
about 15 years or so ago. And one thing I'm so grateful for is the fact that my children, I tell them when they're in my class, you're always going to be one of my kids. And that he was able to connect us, because I feel so honored and so grateful to be connected to you, because I think you're such an honorable young African-American man who has grown up and is doing his thing.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, so that's the beautiful part here. So let's start with where you grew up. So let's talk about that. Tell me about
I grew up in North. I went to Martin Luther King Elementary School, South 9th Street. I guess the typical story of just growing up rough, odds kind of against us, and made us some mistakes in my life, but I think it ultimately shaped me for who I am today.
Right. And that's the difference. Sometimes people can go through things and they don't learn from them.
Yes.
They just spiral out of control based on their circumstances. And so you went to Martin Luther King
Yes.
on 8th Street, right? That was a rough school.
Yeah, I loved it.
It was rough. You loved it?
Yeah.
I mean, some people just, it was wild.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into details. I don't want to incriminate nobody, but it was something else.
Yes.
But what about your high school experience?
Well, my freshman year, I went to Arts High School for drawing. But when I got there, I realized I didn't love to draw. It's just something I like to do. It became a job there. So I didn't really, I fell out of love very fast. Once I realized you had to know the particulars of a face structure and stuff like that, I'm like, well, I just like to draw. And,
Right.
And then I went on to go to West Side High School.
So I graduated from Arts High School in 1993. And what's interesting about Arts when it was on High Street was that, and it's funny because it was Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get away from that Martin Luther King name.
Yeah.
You went to the
I never
school.
thought of that.
Right? Isn't that something I just thought about, like, wait a minute, MLK. You went to the MLK school and then you went to high school on MLK.
Yeah.
And so I think there might have been some sort of destiny for you in those names.
That's deep.
That's deep.
That's deep. No, that's deep.
It's deep. And I just thought about that because it made me think about the street.
Yeah.
It made me think about what I went through when I was at Arts High.
Okay.
And it didn't affect me as much as some other people. But even when I was there in the 90s, the kids from Central High School used to come down the street to beat up Arts High kids.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't understand at the time, like, what is wrong with them? So tell me your experience with that at Arts High, because it was still going on when you came in.
Yeah.
You maybe, what, 15 years younger than me?
Maybe.
Something like that. Who knows? But,
Yes. Well, I think the biggest thing was Central looked at Arts High kids as maybe goody two shoes, or maybe even feeling like we think we were better than others. And only thing was different was I got my shot from drawing to go to Arts High.
Right.
I dealt with a situation like that where the kids would come down and they jumped the kids, and I didn't know nothing about it. Somebody had snuck me one day, and I actually got in trouble because after that day, I was making sure that we was down there every day fighting back, and they was kind of upset because I guess the routine was like come in school and wait till they leave, and I didn't grow up like that. So I couldn't live with being punched and no fighting back.
And you know what? I think that's what made me say, oh, I love your spirit,
Yeah.
because it was abusive.
Yeah.
I went through the same thing. Like, it's one thing for you to just tell me what you went through, and I'm like, oh my God, no. I remember that the policy was, when the Central kids come, you guys come run back in the building. And I was like, I'm not running back in the building. I was walking past.
Yeah.
And I wasn't worried. Nobody ever hit me. I
Yeah.
never got into a fight with them, because I was like, I don't have no problem with none of them. So why would there be a problem? But not realizing that some people, when they feel that you're being treated well or being specially treated, because our Thai kids were treated very special in Newark. I know we were for 4 years.
Yeah.
I was number 14 in my class, and to know that my high school experience was joyful, beautiful all the time, every day. I did later realize why they were upset, but they shouldn't have been upset with us. They should have held their school to higher standards of treating them.
Yes. I don't think it was so much the school standards. Actually, it's just your mind frame. You have to figure, people wake up mad every day. They think about their circumstances, and they feel like, like the world might be on them. I know sometimes younger, I'm like, wow, why my life like this? When I got to RTI, everybody was like dressed to impress, and I was long white T-shirt, baggy jeans, and it actually let me know. I'm like, well, it can depress you. It can depress you. So imagine a kid that's not in RTI and walking by thinking that they see, at this time the Cool G clothes was the thing, and the Jesus Peace chains, and so imagine walking by that school and you see all the kids with those things on. You're looking at it like, oh, they think they're better than us, but you're really just mad at yourself or your circumstances. And I actually can kind of understand their mind frame at that time, because I was in the school looking at like, wow, how everybody dressed like this, how everybody has this, and I don't.
Really?
So it's not so much of the school standards, it's just them thinking about when they go home, maybe they don't have nothing to eat, or they walking by and you have your cousins hand-me-down clothes on, and you don't know that they do too, but they just look better than you. So.
No, it's funny because I always said these kids came from the same households as the kids from Arts High. We were all from Newark too.
Yes.
I grew up in Newark. I'm from Newark.
Yeah.
But I didn't grow up in a struggle. I have to say that. And because we were talented, we performed all over the place. We had all these great experiences. We were treated well.
Yeah.
We were able to go outside for lunch. And we came back. They trusted us. We were praised all the time. We were in people's music videos and things. But my thing was, I was never jealous, because I had a talent. So I was like, why be jealous?
Yeah.
I just could not wrap my mind around going and beating somebody up just because you had a perception of what may have been going on with them. And my thing is, hold everybody else accountable, because they could have dressed nice. They could have dressed well. They could have had fun things going on, but that wasn't what they demanded. And it was their frame of mind that instead of fixing things for themselves or having someone, their parents, whoever, to advocate for them, they lashed out at those who had maybe a better situation in the same city. Yeah. And it wasn't even that more. It wasn't even about money, because we didn't have a lot of money spent on the school, but it was that there was the sentiment, it was the feeling, and that's to me what it's about. You have the right sentiment, and you come to these children and give them the best, then they'll feel good. And that just wasn't the flow there, and they should have demanded that.
I think you have to. It's way bigger than what they demand. It's generational. So if your household didn't teach that,
right,
you don't grow up learning that. You only can you mimic a lot of stuff that you see, and you got to think from the outside looking in. Everybody at Arts High or any school of that standard, they look to be loved. They're like the perfect life that a child might always want it. You have grown people that still think about their childhood. I mean, I still think about my childhood. I just see it differently now. But I always try to understand, quote unquote, the underdog. Even their anger, never saying the actions is right, but what made them become this way. So I don't think it's, of course the school has a big name, but it's just the fact, you got to think somebody might be walking home from school and going into the house with like no cable, no food, no nothing.
Kids in my school didn't have that either.
Yeah, but you don't know it.
But and that's the difference. I agree. The difference is people taking personal responsibility. Yeah. But at the same time, if you went to Central and you tried to dress like an arts kid, you'd get bullied. But the overall culture in the system should have been as such that you should have had the right to have some pride in yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's where the bigger flaw is, because we were taught to be proud. When we came in there, the upperclassmen performed for us. You remember, you had that performance. They do that. So it makes you say, this is what I can do. I can be free. I can be talented. I can sing my song. I can dance, draw, whatever. And that should be at all of our schools.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with that.
And generationally, like I grew up, and I'm from Newark. Those other kids, same households. People had siblings from Central. But I'm gonna tell you one thing that I appreciate about that time of them coming to fight. There were some kids under me who didn't run back in the building.
Yeah.
And I was out there that day. I'm walking past, because I was like, I gotta go. I don't have time to be running back in the building. I wasn't a big fighter, but I wasn't a punk.
Yeah.
I've always been bully proof. And they never even looked past me. I mean, looked at me, they just walked past me like, and I was from there. I never was like, I don't go there. I just walking.
Yeah.
My cousin went there too. They never bothered my cousin either. But some of the kids in the class or two under me, they said, oh no, we standing out here. They came up and started antagonizing them. And I stopped like, oh, for real?
Yeah.
So I'm looking, and they just started wailing on them. And I'm like, And some of the teachers came out and said, finally somebody stood up for themselves. And those girls didn't even get in trouble.
Okay.
It was the girls. The boys were running inside. And mind you, I was out there because I saw it.
Yeah.
And I stopped like, wait a minute. So the thing about it was that we have to not feed into a particular mindset, whether it's being a victim of being bullied and somebody coming to attack you, or feeling like the underdog. Because I've always been a child that would get what I wanted.
Yeah.
I was going to talk to my parents the way I needed to talk to them and rationalize with them and make them change their minds. Just that simple, because it makes sense, right, Mom? You know what, you're right. You know what, Daddy? You know what, you're right. Get it. But if we're not taught to think, and if we don't do that metacognition within ourselves, we're going to keep losing.
Yeah,
that's what I think. Go ahead. You got
I just think that for not saying men and boys and girls at that time, at the age, that it's such a difference. But only thing I will say is it's so much more trouble for a guy to get into.
I agree.
Than a girl.
I agree. It's different. I definitely know that as a female, I didn't have the same battles that you had, because there are masculinity issues, identity issues that growing up in Newark, you got to be hard. You can't sit back and be like, oh, okay. You have to exert your masculinity and claim your space. Yeah. And even if you didn't want to, you had to. Yeah. I understand that. So let's get on to what kind of work do you do now? What do you into?
Author. You know, I do motivational speaking as much as I can.
Yes.
I have my own hauling company, like when you're transporting goods.
Yes.
And I'm actually studying right now to take my exam for a personal trainer.
Oh, that would be beautiful. And I'm gonna have you personally trained, but you can't be yelling at me and calling me names.
No, I would never be like that. That's degrading, actually.
It is degrading.
I wouldn't do that.
That's why I see the people on TV. I'm like, you ain't talking to me like that. Nah. You know, so I'm like, no, I'm not having no personal training. Like, get up, you're lazy. I'm like, my side hurt. So what? No, if I tell you my side hurt, you're not gonna keep pushing me. So I'm just letting you know how to treat me.
You have to be a little dedicated too, though.
I'm dedicated, but just be nice to me.
I got you.
Because you're gonna be my trainer.
Oh, I'm with it.
Okay. Right. So I love that because you're so progressive. I think, and I wasn't in your house. But what I know is that your brother came to school with such a culture of kindness and conscientiousness, of just being a nice person. Do you think you were taught that at home in your family? To be nice?
One thing I would say, my father, even through his battles, whether prison and drug addiction and stuff like that, as a kid, he always made sure that we knew how to speak with respect.
Yes.
Whether we see a woman, give a kiss on the cheek.
Oh, okay.
He always made sure that we had to have some kind of respect for people. So that's one thing that always stuck with us.
So, and I know that about your family because I believe apples come from apple trees. I say it all the time. All right. So no matter how rough it was growing up for you, your parents taught you certain things. Your mother loved the mess out of your boys.
Yeah. Yes.
I know that.
Unconditionally.
Unconditionally. Yeah. So you wrote the book. And C.H.A.O.S is your pen name for this book.
Yes.
Why did you choose the pen name C.H.A.O.S?
So I come up in the music background, and initially the chaos was just, the trouble and stuff like that. As I grew and started evolving and understanding things better. Even myself, like through certain hurt and stuff I went through, I changed it to an acronym. It stands for creating happiness after one suffers.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
Because I'm very conscious about names and words.
Okay.
And I even said, why chaos? But the acronym is so important.
Definitely.
You know, creating. You create whatever life you want.
Yes.
And when people start to realize and understand that, you know, even if there's a systemic issue, if everybody starts creating what they want and start moving and mobilizing toward that improvement, that productivity, we can make change.
Yes.
Things can get better. And I think that's important. That's why when you talk about mindset, listen, I've always been a winner.
Yeah.
I like to win.
100%.
And I'm going to get what I want, you know?
Yeah.
So people need to understand, don't ever speak negatively about your outcomes. I had to fuss with somebody in the car. We ain't going to never find no parking space. I said, why would you speak against that?
Yeah.
And I just went to the parking guys. I said, I'm sorry about her. We're going to get this parking space. I thank you so much for this wonderful parking space. I thank you. And then we pulled up and the lady was coming out. And I said, see, watch your mouth.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we got to learn to stop.
Energy.
Yeah, it's the energy you put out into the universe, manifesting your words, you know. So that's, you know, I love that it means something deeper.
Thank you.
You know, and so what inspired you to use this title, you know, of this book, Signs? We all could be better parents, you know, the signs. What inspired you?
I think signs is like, it's pretty much self-explanatory that everything you do in life is signs. You can, I mean, whether just come in here, you got to follow signs to get to the right place. Or,
Right.
And I think that we avoid a lot of stuff that we see, maybe not intentionally,
Right.
but like when I say we all can be better parents, our parents taught us some things
Yes.
that's not true, not right. It's not accurate.
Such as?
It could be many things. Just think about something on a small scale of when, you know, your parents don't want you to be a punk. So they be like, well, you know, if a person is too big, pick something up and knock them over the head. And all those.
Well, I wasn't taught that.
I mean, just think like,
I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I heard it a lot from where it's like, they hit you, you hit them back. But
Right.
if you think they too big or something, I don't care if you got to pick something up. And then now if you think about how violent it is these days, they skipping all the stages of hitting back. They just all picking something up and causing harm.
Right.
So I think that it's so many things, even just the fact of emotions. Think about counseling. You're like, maybe your child gets some counseling. Ain't nothing wrong with him or her. They ain't crazy. These are things that's not accurate.
And you know, and that's the depths of it as African American people. We're getting better now in the 21st century.
Yes.
We are. But we have avoided mental health, counseling, therapy, psychiatrists. Suck it up and keep it moving.
Yeah.
And that was something that I was taught growing up.
Yeah.
I was taught that same thing. Counselor for what? Therapist for what? I talked to my friends as therapy. I worked a lot of things out that way. I had a book that I read, and I bought about 12 copies and gave it out to people. What Mama Couldn't Tell Us About Love. And that book helped me to heal myself because I know whatever our parents have done to us, for us, whatever against us, in our 20s, that's when we need to heal it. If we don't work on healing it in our 20s, we're going to be messed up for the rest of our lives. Because, and I say healing because those little things that they taught us about not going to the psychiatrist, because then you get labeled.
Yeah.
Then they give you experimental medication.
Yeah.
And that's not conspiracy, that's real. There's documented medical experimentation on African Americans for things like that. And to get yourself marginalized as mentally ill, it means that you cut off your potential.
Yeah.
It means that, oh, you're stigmatized, or she crazy, she can't do it, or he's crazy, something's wrong with him. So in your book called Signs, you know, what are some of those signs that, you know, you want parents to look at?
Mood swings are something that now that I know with dealing with my daughter, mood swings are something that's like major. Younger, when we was going through something, you know, your parents would curse you out for having mood swings. Like, what's your problem? Go sit down.
Beat you up, till and then you ain't got no more mood swing. You fixed.
But it's not really fixed because you actually just held in really what was wrong with you.
It's not fixed, but it looks like it went away.
Yeah,
and you learn how to mask it, pack it down. That's a coping mechanism because as children, we make those new neurological, it's not healthy, but we make neurological connections about that. That's also where that strong black woman thing comes in. I'm one of those strong black women, like, you can't hurt my feelings. And people are like, but you're hurt. No, I'm not. Like, okay, you skipped hurt and went to anger. Yes. And it may not be the best thing.
Definitely not.
Okay. Okay. But I'm there. I have that strength because I have to. I don't have time to sit back and be like, oh, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I can't, anxiety. Ain't nobody got time.
You think anger is strength?
I'm not gonna say anger is strength, but what I'll say is my strength is my resilience that I can pick up and keep it moving. I'm gonna still do what I have to do, and I'm gonna do a great job at it. And then when those who have tried to attack me still realize, oh, she's still striving, and now she done smacked me down on some legal stuff, and she's still smiling, that's strength. It's strength. And my smile comes from a true inner place of joy. Okay. And as a black woman, there are people who get upset because I'm smiling, I'm happy, and I keep pushing and persevering. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say that anger is strength, but that is my honesty about how I feel sometimes about when people try to come at me with nonsense. It's like, don't you realize that I'm not going to go cower and cry in the corner? You may get some type of repercussions. That's what the anger does, but I make sure I regulate it and not act on it. And that's important.
I think that the difference is the peace, like that you say if you can tell that somebody's intentionally trying to do something.
Oh yes.
When you kind of try to master that, it's like not even getting mad. It's like understanding what's in front of you. I was always told if you know where every piece on the board is, it can't hurt you. So it no longer even gets anger, because anger, it takes some energy whether you want to believe it or not.
I agree.
And not saying we all don't get. I know I get mad, but I try to always remind myself that. If it doesn't do nothing positive for you to get mad, it might motivate you in a way, but you're still giving somebody energy that could be doing go somewhere else.
Right, but like when you said, when you know, and I know, and that's why I can smile and persevere, because it's like, I know why you upset. I see what you're trying to do, but just know that I've always been a winner, and I always get what I want. My words to the universe's ears. And because you're doing it wrong, you ain't gonna do nothing but fall apart. And what bothers me sometimes is, another person has to fall apart because they tried to make me fall apart. But sometimes you gotta do a boomerang. Whatever you thought you were gonna give to me, I'm sending it back to you. Because I shouldn't have to take it, and I won't. And people don't understand, you don't have to internalize those things. And that's about being bully-proof and not allowing abuse. But when you talk about those mood swings, do you think that African-American children or black males have a unique experience with mental illness?
Yes. I mean, I feel as though, I don't want to say we go through more than the next person. There, other, I like to say races, they tend to it a little earlier. Or they might feel like they know a little something that our parents or grandparents didn't.
Because they acknowledge it?
You know why? Because if you look at it, just think about the difference in the times now. I could have got cursed out for having a mood swing. Now with my daughter having it, and that's not like something every day, but just like, what's up with you? What's going on? And then when you really, really dig into it, and she really gets what's on her mind, you realize, well, man, imagine how many parents are still following the old school rules of man, get out of here, or ain't nothing wrong with you, or talk to me when you don't got an attitude, and it's never an attitude. They're going through something. So I just think that we need to acknowledge it more, take it more serious. You know, younger, I used to be like, well, why they babying this person? But sometimes it's really not babying. It's like, this child's going through something. And now, like my daughter, you know, we have a great relationship, and even if she don't want to talk about something right there, she said, can we talk a little later? It's a door open now. Because I'm not, if you're really not in the mood to talk about it, as long as it's nothing disrespectful and rude, talk to me when you feel. Because you can actually force them into a corner and they just tell you a little bit of something and just...
And they don't really get it off. But that's like my daughter. She's upset, she don't want to talk about it. When I get upset, I'm like, blah, 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 because I know I got to get it out. Because if I don't get it out, that's why I'm a happy person, because if I don't get it out right then, I sit back, it festers. And then the person that tries to come at me, they get all of it. They get what they're asking for and some more. And people are like, oh my God, Sharonda, you really were mean. Like, okay, well, they asked for it. But you get, no. You know, but, and I try to be cognizant of that. You know, so how do we fix this? You know, besides stopping, and I agree, stopping to say what's going on. Do you want to talk now? Because that's not an old school thing. Okay, how do we? What do we do?
First let me say, I always say like I have no degree. I'm strictly off experience.
Yeah.
And I just think I can't say how to fix the world or anything like that, but I do feel like communication is top of the list for everything. If
Right.
we have to be and just have more of a heart. Like you can have a bad day and don't want to talk to your child, and they really could be going through something.
And you got to get over that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think what they were saying. Like, and I think our history, a lot of us as black people are still suffering because great granddaddy was lynched and nobody could talk about it. The pain, the hurt, the fact that they were lynched and they had to move. They couldn't even grieve. They didn't have time to stop and sit down. We had to keep it moving. Mommy still had to feed everybody. The kids had to still do whatever. Lost everything. So I think we still holding on to that. You got to keep it moving. You can't fall apart. And I think that's why a lot of people use drugs and are alcoholics because that generational pain was never resolved.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we need special grief counselors for those things. So, you know, you have a nonprofit. What's the title and what are some of the goals?
Well, it's called Own Your Peace.
Own Your Peace.
Yes. So the mission really is to, I like to say the word attack because it's like serious to me. So it's like kind of attack these kids that you can tell when people are going through certain things. So the mission, my overall is to get a facility where I can have kids coming after school, weekends, have places to go where they're not judged. You know, they never even understand like technically what's the mean. They just think it's somewhere to be. And I would like to have counseling there, exercise. That's why I'm trying to become the personal trainer because that's one thing to build confidence and get out stress. And just build a family of people where you feel comfortable talking.
Yeah.
So once you start getting people to open up and own their peace, meaning don't let the world get you down, don't look at your perspective. You know, I think people's perspective on life can wake up like you said, this thing, I can't get no parking, I'm not gonna get no parking. Oh, your perspective is, you get it. That's what you get.
Yes.
So that's the overall goal is owning your peace. Owning your peace is everything. Even if the day don't go as you expected it, find the good in it. And so that's the mission is.
And I love that because it's normally women who are trying to find that peace, and a lot of times males don't talk about that as much.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm in the barbershop.
Yeah.
My father was always bringing me to the barbershop when he was like, you got to come in and be in these conversations. You got to talk with us. And that's one of the things that have happened in the barbershop, but doesn't really come outside of the barbershop.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that you have tuned into that, and we definitely are going to be partnering with that. I'm so glad that Divine, connected us, and I want to make sure that we have those places. And my passion is definitely about the young people, educating our people, and trying to make sure that, as time goes on, consider the past, the history of the trauma that went on, post-traumatic slave syndrome, Jim Crow, all those different things, sundown towns, they affect us today. And we have to do things to fix ourselves. We can't just keep it moving. We got to pause and say, we have this pain, it came down, whatever it was, we got to release it, find that peace. But I want to say thank you for coming here and talking about peace and that acronym for chaos and healing and everything. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully I'll be back again.
Yes, for the next thing.
Yes.
And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to We the Village.
Deal with. Most gracious, Ed, continued luck with your show in the morning, and it's been a pleasure as usual.
Thanks, Joe. Always good to see you.
Okay. Next week on Sports Close-Up, Rich Scheid, Tottenville High School, longtime minor leaguer who was finally made it to the big show in September. He was brought up by the Houston Astros. Rich Scheid will be with us next week on Sports Close-Up. And please tune in. Remember, Friday night, with my football show, Borough President Guy Molinari, 3 or 4 days before the big election, will be there to challenge me in football and tell us whether George Bush is going to come from behind. So I'll see you on Friday night with my football show. For Ed Coleman, this is Joe Nugent saying good night, and I'll see you next week.